Good afternoon, everyone. It's now 3:07 p.m., and this is the regular meeting of the Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency for Thursday, June 18, 2026. And we are here in the Woodland City Council chambers, prepared to proceed. Do we have any comments submitted electronically, Madam Clerk? Pardon me? All right. We have an item one of agency business. I was actually responding to the redlined part at the top. Has anyone submitted any comments electronically? No. They have not. With that, I will proceed then to the roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tom Steller.
Present.
Vice Chair Josh Chapman is absent. Director Donna Neville. Here. Director David Moreno.
Here.
Participating agency representative Courtney Doss from Davis.
Here.
Glad you're here, Courtney. Okay. The record reflects we have a quorum and can proceed with our business. And that would begin with item 1, which is the approval of the agenda, and the following consent items, which is the approval of the April 16, 2026 meeting minutes and the Treasurer's quarterly report for the third quarter fiscal year 26. Are there any, does anybody wish to take any item off the consent calendar? There being none, motion?
I'll motion that.
Thank you. Motion by Director Moreno.
Second.
Second by Director Neville. Further discussion, there being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously with those present. And that brings us to item 2, which is our public comment time, and this is reserved for people who wish to make comments on items not on our agenda today and thus not available for discussion, but for their input. Anyone with that wish to make a public comment? Okay, everybody looks happy. It's after lunch, it's nap time. Okay, no, nothing over the electronic, so we'll close public comment and move on to item 3 of our agenda, which is our Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency General Manager update and Operations Manager update. And I presume, Tim, you'll begin first?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Tim Bush, General Manager for Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency. The topics we have today are not too terribly different than previous board meetings, although we do have a few new ones added at the bottom. I'll start and then turn it over to Stan at the capital improvement stage. So looking at water supply outlook for this year, we have a couple graphics to show you. First is the Northern Sierra Precipitation Index. This is a graph you're used to seeing. The top of the shaded area is the 30-year running average. Across the bottom is days beginning October 1, as the water year starts October 1, so every day since that time going to the right. And then the vertical axis is cumulative precipitation at the eight gauge stations in the northern part of California. This year, as of yesterday, we are at 97% of average, so very, very much an average year. And to make it even more average, we're basically right between the previous 2 years. The kind of magenta line above is last year, and the gray one below that is the previous year, so we're kind of, I don't know, super average in the past 3 years. So overall, we're doing really well water supply. One thing that's a bit different this year was that there is not much snowpack. I actually flew over the mountains on Monday, and there's nothing left. A few little pieces of snow on top, and that's it.
Gonna have to put roller wheels on your snowboard there.
Yes, this year, yes. Yeah, so we have graphics of the 2 of the big reservoirs upstream from us. Lake Oroville is shown in the graphic right now. Again, the top, the shaded area is the average, and then dates across the bottom and storage volume across the vertical axis. This one and Shasta, the next one, are both from about a week ago. So Oroville is still quite a bit above average. This time of year, yeah, water coming out of the reservoirs to meet irrigation demands and Delta water quality objectives is resulting in declining reservoir levels. That's very normal this time of year, but Oroville is pretty healthily above its long-term average. Lake Shasta is closer to average, still above average, but it's closer. So pretty good news overall water supply this year. Our Term 91 curtailment did start May 28th, which is it's a bit earlier than normal, but it's a bit later than we thought it was going to be in April. In April, we thought maybe it was going to start by May 1. So we got a few more weeks. Some of the late storms we had did help. And then it is a Shasta normal year, which means we have full access to our 10,000 acre feet of water storage. Quick update on long-term water supply. Not a whole lot of updates since our last meeting. We are getting very close to the draft supplemental EAR being out for agency review. We expect that in the next couple of days. We just had a meeting with the team last week. And then we'll do agency review of that, then put it up for publication. Still planning to do a long-term agreement with Salcedo Water District. We're looking at up to a 50-year agreement, but at least a 20-year. That would be an agreement for the optional water transfer agreement for every winter, November 1 through October 31, or through, sorry, March 31, and then options for summer agreements. We are also giving ourselves the ability to do a water transfer with any Sacramento River settlement contract. Anytime, we want to look over the agency's best interests. Sac River settlement contract would be only summer water transfer, April 1 to October 31 in a year. But we want to give ourselves options primarily for pricing and for volume. Summer water transfers are very different. If you buy water in summer, you're buying a certain amount and you're paying for that amount whether or not you use it. It's not an option agreement like we can do in winter. But every year is different. The last 3 years, we have not done a summer water transfer. This year, there's an item for the board to consider a small water transfer for this summer. Next year, who knows? Winter months are different because we have roughly a 25 to 30% risk every year that we need water in winter. This past winter, we had to exercise that option twice, November 1 through 5, and then February 10 to 21. The February one was very much a surprise to everyone. The state board had never imposed a curtailment in winter like that before. They had never started a curtailment in February before.
So we're in term 91 right now.
Yes.
And why are we in term 91 right now?
We are in term 91 right now, and it's a normal summer occurrence that happens every year when the state and the federal projects have to release water to meet certain Delta water quality objectives. Mm-hmm. So the simplest way to explain it is when precipitation, rainfall, and snow melt have decreased to the point that water needs to be released from reservoirs to maintain Delta water quality objectives. That's also compounded by the fact that irrigation starts in May, typically, maybe sometimes in April. So there's a much bigger demand on water from the river, from irrigation, agricultural, and municipal uses, and then a reduced natural inflow into the system.
So is term 91 going to be remaining in place for the remainder of the year?
Yes, until the state board decides to end it. Typically, it varies a lot by year. Sometimes it'll end as early in August. Sometimes it ends at Christmas.
And what are the actual implications of that?
Yeah, the implications of it are, so we have a 10,000 acre foot
Water right.
water right. And what we have to do is that water right is we can use every day from April 1 to October 31. And Woodland owns 52.1% of that water right. Davis and UC Davis own 47.9% of that water right. Don't ask me how those exact percentages got arrived at. That was before my time. But it's a very precise number.
That 1/10 of 1% goes into your offshore account.
Yes, yeah. So what we have to do is, so we have to divide, it started this year on May 28th. We have to divide that 10,000 acre feet, split between the percentages to get us through October 31. So we have to plan for that water to be available to keep the water plant running through the end of October. Curtailment may end before the end of October, but we do not know that today. So we intentionally short October. We front load the water use May or June through end of September, and then try to run the plant closer to its minimum capacity in October, and the partners use backup supply. Because some years the curtailment ends, we don't want to leave that much water on the table. Whatever we don't use when the curtailment ends, we just don't use.
Is term 91 like a specific percentage less that we get, or is it?
It's term 90. What term 91 does, so we have our primary water right. It's 45,000 acre feet that we can use year round until term 91 is declared. When term 91 goes into effect, that water right goes to zero, and we just cannot use it again until the curtailment ends. So our Sac River settlement contract water right, the 10,000 acre foot, we use during those days.
So you mean when term 91 is in effect, we get nothing from our Sacramento River water right?
We get nothing from our primary water right, yes. We have an appropriative water right from the State Water Board that allows us to take up to 52 million gallons per day, every day, when there's enough natural inflow to the system to meet Delta water quality objectives. So the day that changes, that water rate goes to zero.
Okay, I'm going to have to keep asking questions because somehow this isn't sticking, if you know what I mean. But it's disconcerting to think that term 91 means that our water right basically means nothing for the months that it's in place. So we have to have replacement water for that water right for all those months.
Yes. And that's why the agency bought the Sac River Settlement Contract water right from Conaway Preservation Group back in 2010. It's a known, the term 91 curtailment is a very common known term. It's in a lot of people's water rights.
But we bought that rate mostly to cover the months that weren't covered by our Sacramento River water right, June, July, and August, didn't we?
A bit the opposite. We bought it to cover the months when term 91 is in effect and we cannot use our primary water right.
Okay, but it was a 9-month right. Aren't there 3 months when we don't have any right to Sacramento River water?
Sort of, yes. When the
I see our attorney's almost ready to speak.
Back when the water right, the 10,000 acre feet was contemplated by by Woodland and Conaway, it was typically a 3-month, right? The 3 months you're talking about, that was kind of the norm. That has all changed now.
Okay, it doesn't
So
even-
term 91 is a lot more frequent from a percentage perspective and a lot more months depending on the water year that we have. So it could happen anytime during the year. As Tim mentioned, it happened in February this year for a few days, right? Which had not been done before, so.
It's somewhat embarrassing that I'm not clear on that at this stage of the ballgame, but it's never really been an issue in prior years. We've pretty much been able to count on it until the fall, when then it would go into effect.
It's been an issue for a few years here recently, where we've either had to go out on the market and purchase additional water. There's actually an item to purchase a little bit of water for this summer on the agenda this afternoon. But we have come into situations, especially during, I can't remember the year,
2022.
2022,
we
where
transferred.
we had to buy a significant amount of water for the summer to make sure that the plant could stay running, even at minimum flows, to provide to the partners. So it's a more frequent condition, which is why on the slide in front of you, we're looking at more of a long-term supply agreement with South Sutter to augment that 10,000 acre feet. And then if term 91's in the winter,
Okay.
have it there. Yeah.
All right, it's obviously complex, and I find it hard to retain some of these, which is why I repeatedly ask some of these same questions. So, you okay?
I was just going to belabor the point a little bit. So just for understanding, term 91 also is a water right priority thing, and the problem for Woodland Davis is you have one of the most junior rights on the Sacramento River, so you get cut before anybody else does. There may still be some natural flow in the system, but more senior water right holders get that first. So that's a big part of your problem. The right's very large, but unfortunately it can be meaningless. And the other point I'll just make real quickly is hydrology seems to have undergone the sea change after the last drought. Before then, the system was a lot more reliable. A lot of it has to do with snowpack and the fact that it stayed on the mountains longer and melted more slowly. So that gave you more natural flow to the system into the summer. That seems to have changed, and it seems to be a pretty permanent change. So unfortunately, and this is something Tim's explained before, you're going to be facing this issue on an ongoing basis going
Every
forward,
year.
it seems like.
I think Donna had a question.
Yeah, thank you for all the clarification. And your point made me sort of have just one more follow-up, because I had always thought that when term 91 was in effect, that all the Bay Delta water rights holders were affected and had to stop diverting. But now I'm hearing it's a little bit different, where junior rights have to stop diversion more sooner. It kind of goes down in order of priority from junior to senior. Or is that how it goes?
It depends, Director Neville. I mean,
Or does it depend on
most
how
often
much?
when term 91 is imposed, it's just a blanket.
Okay.
Everybody stops. But, the board does have the ability to kind of cinch it down by priority.
I see.
So it just depends on how it comes down in a particular year.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any additional questions, colleagues? Well, I will stop asking questions on this one for now. Thank you. Continue with your report, please.
Okay, next slide. I'll turn it over to Stan for capital improvements.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. So I don't have a screen, so I'm going to be looking down. Apologize. Yeah, and I'll be looking over here. So capital improvements. So out at the joint intake, as I think we've mentioned before, we had a meter that had failed. Took a while to get the replacement in. They've done that. It's been installed. Still needs to be programmed, so it's not quite up and running yet, but getting there. At the water treatment plant, also something we mentioned previously, we're working with DDW and our partners with Jacobs to look to re-rate our filter loading. Potentially would be able to increase the amount of water we could put through those filters and potentially increase the amount of water we could put through the plant. So we're still working on that. We've had some meetings with DDW, Division of Drinking Water, and we're still working out some kinks on the plan to see about how we want to test and demonstrate that we can load those filters with that rate. And then power reliability, obviously, we've talked about that a number of times over the years. We've met with PG&E to discuss upstream of on their lines what protections are in place. We're also working with our Jacobs team to look at the picture to the side there is the surge arresters. Those are they're designed to take the hit, if you will, when a surge comes in. We've had a number of those fail catastrophically, and that's caused some challenges. We're actually looking to move that where they are located in our system further away from some of our other infrastructure so that the damage can be isolated, hopefully, to just the arresters and not the downstream equipment that's right next to it. So we're still working on that. In addition to that, some of the monitoring that we'll do will actually enhance some of the power monitoring to help give us more information, hopefully to work with PG&E to settle some of those issues that we've seen there. Next slide. In May, looking at around 19 million gallons a day on average, you can see the split between the three partners. All regulatory contractual requirements met, and water quality reports posted as normal. As we've talked a little bit in detail, Term 91 curtailments were in effect May 28th, and I believe we talked through the primary versus the 10,000 acre feet. Woodquid did celebrate its 10-year anniversary of providing water to the partners, and you can see a few photos from that event. That was held out at the joint intake. The joint intake was also dedicated to Dr. Bill Marble and
Angelo J. Sukopoulos.
thank you very much. That would have, even with my last name, I would not get there, so that was good. Thank you. All right. DER. Other side. As you know, we've been working on a DER project here for about a year and a half, 2 years now, also associated with our power reliability issues. The original intent, so we're around 60% design. We're going to look to take that pretty much full 90% to complete. But the original intent here from staff was that a lot of this was going to be grant funded or program funded through PG&E or others. A lot of that with the current climate has not shown up to the extent we thought. So the idea would be is we're going to get our design finished, be ready to apply for grants and other opportunities, and then basically come back to the board and talk about construction when we think we have some of those things lined up.
What kind of money are we talking, Stan?
I think we were originally talking around 7, and I think it's up around 11 now.
The latest range was 12 million to 18 million.
A little higher than that, then, yes. So,
Get it done fast while we can still hopefully afford it.
yeah. And then the last slide I have, I think that's the last slide I have. We are looking at our water right petitions to change our water right with the board. Primarily for 2 reasons. Davis is exploring an aquifer storage and recovery program. We completed, the final report's not out yet, but we completed our second phase of our testing. The preliminary results are positive for our use, so we probably will look to change our permit to allow Davis to use ASR, similar to how Woodland does. Different program, but same purpose. And then Woodland is looking to change their service boundary, so we would need to also adjust that with the board as well. And with that?
And we'll look at timing for those two items. We may approach the board for the petition for change with one application or two, depending on timing between the two. Woodland cannot do its boundary change until after the November election. Woodland is taking a ballot measure to the November election to potentially bring in a couple of companies a little bit outside of Woodland. So in order to bring them in as a water and sewer customer, we need to change our service boundary. And that would, the agency's responsibility is that we would have to bring that to the board to change our boundary as well with the Division of Water Rights. So it may be one application, it may be two. I don't think either of them need to go to the board for approval. It's really just for your information of things that we're working on.
Thank you. And by the way, thank you, staff, again, for all that was done to make that 10-year commemoration possible. It was like a reunion of all the different people, many of the different people who were involved. I don't know, the crowd was, I don't know, like 60, 70 people. And it was just a good feeling. And it's a huge accomplishment that we did this 10 years ago. And we're grateful for our Jacobs partners and all the people that did all the parts necessarily to bring this to reality. So term 91 notwithstanding. Okay, that concludes item 3.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Item number 4 is consider an operations contract amendment number 17. I don't know how we got to 17 already. So we have a service contract. The project was a design, build, operate contract with CH2M Hill, now Jacobs, to basically design and construct and then operate the water treatment plant for 15 years with an option for another 5. So we're starting contract year 11. So we're 11 years in already with this project. And most of the contract amendments, I think, were several years ago. Not many of them actually came to the board. Most of them were minor things, changing a few words in the contract type thing. But if it ends up being over $50,000, it needs to go to the board for consideration. This is something we've been working on for quite some time. It is an electrical related item. Basically, what we're looking to do is add an electrical position to the contract, so we have an on-staff electrician. The contract itself is rather agnostic as to how many people and what positions we have there. But we do not have an electrician on staff, and we never have. We have been using contracted electricians that come on site when we need them to do the operation and maintenance. The plant is now 10 years old. It is starting to age. We need to do more ongoing O&M, preventative maintenance, and then regular maintenance, PPMs and PMs, right, if I got that right, at both the water treatment plant itself and the intake. And so Jacobs had been looking around at different ways of doing that, talked to several industrial electrician companies. Those companies all said, you need to shut the water treatment plant down for 5 days and we will come and do all the preventative maintenance.
They'll stop flushing our toilets for 5 days.
Yeah. But if you're, and they're used to working in factories where they do shut down for maintenance. Well, as a water treatment plant, we cannot do that. They said, yeah, that's not a good idea. We can't turn the water system off for 5 days. So Jacobs then met with the electricians from the cities of Woodland and Davis. All the cities and UC Davis have staff, electrical staff on hand for the wastewater treatment plants. I was part of one of those meetings, and the electricians from both cities said, yeah, you need your own electrician. So we worked out with Jacobs. Essentially, we're splitting the cost of the position roughly 50-50. It results in reduced contracting on Jacobs' end by about $100,000. We agreed to pick up the other $97,000. It's roughly $197,000 fully loaded cost for the position going forward. I see a lot of value in having an electrician on staff. That it's their baby. They know the plant. They know where everything is. They know the history of it. It'll also save us time when we have future electrical problems and that waiting for an electrician to come out from some company, they're already there.
So this person would be a Jacobs employee?
Yes.
It would be supplementing the Jacobs
Yeah,
contract?
be a Jacobs employee supplemental to the contract assigned to our water treatment plant and intake. So be a full-time employee there.
Okay. I don't know if you need to give us any more explanation. That sounds like a practical decision. Colleagues, we have questions about staff on this issue. No questions to my left, no questions to my right. So let's see. Consider approval of contracts, or the contract is as submitted to us. Any further discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve the contract amendment, number 17? David?
I'll move it.
Okay, Director Neville moves. Director Moreno seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. You got a new team member. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so now we're up to what really is the main item, main event of the afternoon is the required budget.
It's either the budget or the urban water management plan.
Well, the budget has to be adopted today,
Yes.
otherwise we're not in
I'm kidding
compliance with
about that,
California
exactly.
law.
Yeah, so I can walk the board through the budget. So two main budget categories, the same as what we always have. We have two budget categories, operation and maintenance, and the SRF debt and reserve payment. Operation and maintenance covers basically all the costs to run the water treatment plant and the intake, including all of our fees, insurance, and everything else associated with that. So our proposed budget for the next fiscal year has a grand total of about $22.7 million. It is about $700,000 lower than what was presented in the preliminary budget back at the April board meeting. We've done some fine tuning, kicked a few things out, so we actually reduced the cost a bit. Of that, $12.7 million is all the costs related to operation and maintenance. The majority of that is $11.2 million of the direct operation maintenance cost. We have a little bit of money for oversight because it is a design, build, operate contract. The agency does have oversight of Jacobs. And then some budget for permit water supply, about $200,000 for that. Agency administration, $703,000, almost $704,000. And then the usual operation contingencies, we carry that forward every year. And I have some explanation about each of these items in the following slides. And then our usual debt and reserve payment, just under $10 million at $9.99 million a year going forward. Kind of walking through some of the major categories real quickly. Of the $11.2 million of the operation and maintenance costs, $5.92 million is the direct cost for fixed and variable operations. That's mostly, all that money is, well, Jacobs is funded through that budget item, and I think there's a few other things in there as well. But it's basically all the costs for treating and delivering water from the intake and the water treatment plant. Electricity and pass-through costs are the next biggest item, $2.63 million. As I mentioned repeatedly over the past few years, because I like to talk about it, electricity is about $1.5 million per year lower than it was 2 years ago because of the change to WAPA for our electrical supplier. This is the first budget year that we are full year on the WAPA power. We're probably still a little bit conservative because we're still trying to figure out exactly how they bill us. There are several charges that come in later, and there's some variable expenses. But we are quite a bit lower on electricity than we used to be. Pass-through chemicals, unfortunately, are the opposite. They are going up in cost. 8 or so years ago, we would do annual contracts for chemical supply. I think it was around COVID time that it switched to quarterly contracts. And I heard the other day that the chemical suppliers want us to renegotiate prices monthly. Now, there are certain supply issues going on in the industry. May not be involved with going on, maybe involved with things going on in the Middle East. So we're actually having an internal meeting next week on how do we handle this, what are other water treatment plants doing. But there's some interesting things in the chemical supply world these days. Next budget item is a small amount of money to basically advance the design of the DER project from 60% to 90% and look for and apply for grants as they become available. Grants these days want your project to be essentially shovel ready. So we get it to 90% design, we're there. And then the federal government has several grant programs that right now they're in the process of rewriting. So there's at least 3 we can probably apply for depending on the eligibility criteria that ends up in their final document. So we don't know yet what they're looking for, what they will and will not fund, but we're getting ready to be able to do that.
Amazing.
We have a really small budget item to fix a very minor erosion control potential.
It's interesting to see $20,000 indicated as .02 million.
Yes. Yeah, that's a small erosion control fix that the runoff from the parking lot at the intake doesn't quite hit the downstream erosion control that's already in place. We need to fix that at some point. Unfortunately, this past winter, it never rained at a time that we all thought to go over there and see where does this actually land and what do we need to do. So hopefully this winter we can get that work done. We did include about $500,000 for a supplemental water purchase. About half of that is for the summer water transfer that's on the agenda today, and the other half is for the winter option agreement. For example, this past winter, we did, of the $200,000 that was budgeted for water transfer, we did spend about $178,000 of that, and the 2 times we had to exercise the option this winter. About $120,000 for the filter re-rating study. That work was budgeted in the previous fiscal year. Unfortunately, we ended up we're having to negotiate with the State Water Board on how exactly we go about the filter re-rating study. I can go into it in detail if you want to, but it's related to the fact that we're using alum for our coagulant and not ferric. I won't go further now unless you want me to, but it's a long sort of story. Nothing bad, it's just something we have to work through. The item that's actually higher this year is under the extraordinary, the long series of words. Several things, permit fees, water rights. The thing that's actually higher this year is repair and replacement expenses. This is the first year in 10 years of operation that we're having to really spend money in that. We spent a little bit over that fund the past few years. So the water treatment plant and intake have several components of things, and each one of those has kind of a defined service life. Some things should last 20, 30, 40 years. Some things you're lucky if you get 10 years out of them. The service contract has a repair and replacement schedule where we look at what's the expected service life of all these things, what's the anticipated replacement costs in the year that you plan to replace that, and the agency has been putting money away every year for these expenses. This is really the first year since we've been in operation that we're having to spend a real amount of money on that. So that's the reason why O&M budget is a bit higher than it has been in previous years. Next slide, please. Agency O&M and oversight, it's a rather modest amount of money to make sure that all the contract requirements are being followed, as well as program technical support for either any of the partners or the agency itself. We do include some budget for water rights, water supply and permit. Legal, technical, this covers the remaining costs for finishing up the supplemental EIR and then getting that out the door, and then also our long-term water supply agreement. Next slide, please. Agency administration, $704,000. That is not money that's going to Stan, Michelle, and myself. Some of it goes to us. Some of it's for our participation in the agency, as well as treasurer and accounting services. Roughly half of that total amount is for insurance. Today, we are paying roughly triple the insurance amount that we paid 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's just been going up quite a bit every year. So that's roughly half of the agency administration budget. There's a little bit of money in there for any cleanup work on the urban water management plan, as well as organizational memberships. We're a member of the Northern California Water Association, Association of California Water Agencies, and the Sac River Settlement Contractor, and then some minor amount for public outreach. The operation contingency is something we've carried forward every year for the past 10 years. That's just in case something goes wrong that's not otherwise covered. We have, to this date, never used that money, so that will continue to roll over year after year, assuming the board approves the budget today. Debt and reserve payments, those are the same numbers that we see nearly every year now. Woodland's payment obligation is just under $6.2 million, and UC Davis, just over $3.8 million. Woodland has 10 years remaining in the SRF loan, and Davis has another 20 years remaining. So this slide will be the same slide you see every year for the next 10 years. And then we'll change it. Next slide, please. I want to look at what we're doing budget-wise for this fiscal year. So this year, the bottom line is we're looking at underspending our budget by about $2.5 million. The majority of that is we're underspending O&M and O&M obligations. Several reasons for that. We do budget how much water we use, and a lot of years we actually use a bit less than what we anticipate. That's in a lot of ways intentional. Because we want to make sure that we have enough money to pay for water treatment when we need to. And also the electrical budget was definitely conservative this past year because we weren't quite sure getting into WAPA how much money we would actually be paying them for electrical, and actually it's quite a bit less than what we thought. Oversight is basically right on target. Permits water supply, we didn't get our long-term agreement in place this past fiscal year, but we will in the next few months. So most of that money we did not spend. Agency administration, very much right on target, and then contingency we did not use, so we underspent that category completely. Any questions so far?
That's my favorite slide so far. No, I'm just kidding. It just, it's unusual to see that kind of third column right now. Yeah.
This is a very lean operation, and we thank you for that.
Yep, it is. Next slide, please. Oh, it's right there. Oh, yes, I'm blind. So this slide, it shows the comparison between the current year budget and the next budget coming up. The proposed budget for O&M category is about $1.47 million higher. However, almost all of that is the repair and replacement expenses. That is not money that will go, I have a slide explaining this coming up as well, but that's not money that the partners will actually see and need to pay. O&M oversight, basically keeping the budget exactly the same as this year. Permits and water supply, the proposed budget is quite a bit lower than this past year. We finished up some things, and I'll explain that more going forward. So almost $500,000 decrease there. Agency administration, we continue to refine, try to dial in how much money we're spending on things, so a slight reduction there, and then no change to the operation contingency and no change to the debt and reserve payment. So overall, we're looking at about a $0.93 million increase in spending, but almost all of that's or more than that's the reserve repair and replacements work that we're doing. So to compare the two budgets real quickly, kind of covered a little bit of this already. So overall, we're about $1.47 million higher in the O&M category. Of that, $1.2 million is the repair and replacement expenses. Variable and fixed costs, about $500,000 increase, and this is just inflationary increases in everything. And then also how much water we plan to use this year. Supplemental water purchase is $250,000 higher this year than last year because we are contemplating a small water transfer this year, and that happens to be $250,000. It's offset by a reduction in the DER planning and design that we finished the majority of the work. Looking forward, we're only going to get it basically to shovel ready and then kind of wait. So there is a reduction there. As I mentioned, O&M oversight, basically the same as last year. Water supply budget, $450,000 less because we made a lot of progress on the supplemental EIR to support long-term water transfer agreement. I think I mentioned the draft agreement the draft SEIR should be coming to us in the next couple of days to review. So the majority of the work is now completed in that, so there is a reduction there. And then agency administration is about $100,000 lower than previous year. Mainly due that we have completed the urban water management plan. So that's a 1 in 5 year thing. So 5 years, we'll see that again. O&M contingency budget, we just simply carry that over, so there's no change there. And then the debt reserve payment again are the same as the past several years. So overall, how does that look for revenue? City of Woodland has expected revenue payment to the agency of about $11.2 million. Most of that is or about half of that's the debt payment. City of Davis, $8.8 million. UC Davis, $602,000. RD 2035, that's at the intake. We share expenses there, $210,000. And the R&R fund, which is basically a bank account that we have, will pick up $1.44 million of the total spending. So overall, the project partners will see very similar to last year. The overall increase is covered by the R&R fund. So any questions at this point? If not, then there's two recommendations for the board is to consider adoption of the budget for the next fiscal year, and then approve the associated consultant task order, and that's with West Yost to continue agency engineer activities.
Thank you. That was succinct and right to the point. Appreciate it greatly. Colleagues, do we have additional questions of staff?
I do.
Donna Neville.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was very succinct, very clear. I had a question about the debt service, and when you were showing the chart with the different periods of time that debt's going to be paid over, what's our sort of process for looking to see whether debt can or should be refinanced?
It's a good question. We did actually look at that a few years ago, and the answer was no. The short answer
Not
is
now.
we did talk with the State Water Board, and I can't remember why we did it. If we were trying to extend Woodlands to 30 years maybe and see if we could cut the payment down. And the State Water Board was quite clear, no, we cannot do that.
Okay. Okay. Oh, not at all.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, because of the way in which the debt is structured. So
Yeah,
it's not
and-
like with a city where we usually have that flexibility.
Yeah, this is a long-term contract essentially with,
Okay.
it was originally CDPH, now it's with the State Water Board. And we do have very, very favorable financing.
Okay.
And they told us what we got at that time, so I was part of the debt team back then. Woodland was funded through the Safe Drinking Water Fund Program, a 20-year loan at 1.78%
see.
interest.
Okay.
City of Davis took clean water. I might be mixing up clean water and safe drinking water, but so Davis's loan was told you have to be 30 years, and the interest rate was 1.9%.
Got it.
Today, all loans are 30-year, and they're all like roughly 1.9. But we have very favorable financing, and we did try this once, and yeah, the state board said absolutely not.
So they're revolving fund loans, basically, is what they
Yep.
are. So I don't think I quite realized that. One other question, and this is kind of just a general question. A lot of public agencies have real disconnects, timing disconnects between revenue and expenses. Like school districts are the classic example where their expenses over the course of a year are very, very stable, and their revenue comes in when they get their property tax allocations, and they often have really significant cash shortfalls at certain points in the year. Do we have that at all in the year? It looks like, do we have it a little bit going into Q4, or what? Does that happen for us?
Yeah, the agency tends to not have problems like that. And the way we're set up is, and part of it's because we're very stable. We look back at the last 10 years, and so and the amount we spend on O&M has increased a little bit over time, but not very much at all. And because we're funded by 3 public agencies, the 2 cities and UC Davis, so part of us say we're very stable in spending. Roughly half is debt, and roughly half is operation and maintenance. And the cities have budgeted and have built into their rate structure how much money how much they expect to pay to the agency every year going forward in the 5-year rate studies. And UC Davis budgeting is a bit differently, but they budget how much money they expect to contribute to the agency. So we look at it, we look at our budget every year and say, this is how much we need to operate the agency. And then we tell the partners, this is how much money we need. And for the most part, the partners have budgeted for that. It has not been a problem to date. I think if we ever found ourselves that we really wanted to spend a lot more money, like say if we did want to cash fund the DER project, for example, and wanted $10 more million one day, that we would bring back to the agency board and to the cities and say, how do you really feel about that? But so far, we've been incredibly stable over the past 10 years and haven't had any surprises. I should find some wood and knock on real quickly, but it's been pretty good on my head. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you. That makes total sense.
The other piece of that is we invoice the partners quarterly.
Yeah.
So from a cash flow perspective, it's not one time a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. David? No questions, thank you. Any more, Director Neville? Courtney? Okay. Down there at our $600,000 customer.
That's a lot of money.
That's all a lot of money. Thank you. So we have 2 requested actions. One is that we adopt the 26-27 fiscal year final budget, and we'll take that up first. Can we do it as a consolidated motion?
They're listed as separate agenda items, so it would be better, Chair, to take
We'll do
it
it
as
as separate motions then. And Director Neville, will you make the motion?
Sure, I will move staff recommendation first. The
Director.
staff recommendation 1 first.
Thank you. Director Neville recommends that we adopt the budget.
I'll second that. Thank
Director
you.
Moreno seconds it. Further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That concludes a pretty important part of what we've been doing. And then we have to consider approval of the 26-27 consultant contract task order 19 with West Yost and Associates. We do have a staff report on that. Why don't you give us a quick summary, because we can make.
Sure, a quick summary. So West Yost has been the agency's engineer since the beginning of the agency and helps us with several things. They help us with our invoicing, make sure that especially the contract-related things, they help make sure the contract, all the items are followed. We get monthly invoicing from Jacobs on how much that they've done, so they go through that for us. They help us track our spending of money throughout the year, although Michelle's going to take over some of that this year. Going forward, there's somebody retiring from there. And then anything else the agency needs. If we have any problems, anything we need to consider, West Yost is part of our team and can help us with anything we need. So there's various things throughout the year that we work on. Overall, the involvement, and then the DER design has been through West Yost. That's probably the single biggest thing in the budget, both last year and this year, is DER design.
Okay. All right. Well, we know them. These people have been with us since we started the entire process, and they've proven their usefulness multiple times. Is there any further discussion at the council level, the board level, excuse me? There being none, any member of the public offer comments? I don't think so, either from the budget or this item. I should have asked. All right. Okay. So that being the case, we're ready for another motion.
So moved.
Director Moreno moves adoption of the agreement with West Yost.
I will second it.
Director Neville seconds the motion for the discussion. There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That takes care of item 6 on the agenda. We move now to item 7, the 2025 Urban Water Management Update, which in the eyes of our general manager is more important than the budget.
I was kidding a little bit on that one. So we do have to have a public hearing on this item. That is required by DWR. So you go through the presentation first and then do that?
Well, usually you do a staff introduction of the subject, and then I'll open the public hearing.
Okay. So quick introduction. So every 5 years, Department of Water Resources requires all water agencies to prepare an urban water management plan and a water shortage contingency plan. And I know the board members from the 2 cities have already been through this presentation at the cities. So this is another very identical presentation, although it is a bit shorter. Because from the agency's perspective, we're a little bit agnostic on demands. We simply provide the water that we have, and it's the partner's responsibility to meet the demands. And the partners can tell us, go buy water if we need to, or meet their demands from the backup supplies. So it's a little bit, the Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan are a little bit different for us than they are for the cities, because we don't actually, because we're a wholesaler, not a retailer, essentially. So urban water, what is an urban water management plan? That's hard to say altogether. The definition is up on the screen. I know you've seen this in previous meetings. It is something that's required by the California Water Code. It does require us to plan water supply and demand through the year 2050. So every 5 years we update this, we have to look at the next 25 years going forward. The intent of it is to be a planning tool to make sure that we have adequate water supply to meet our demands.
Understood.
Next slide,
All right.
please.
Yep.
This slide just kind of goes through the California code that requires it. It's been a rule since 1983. It's required of all urban water suppliers that serve more than 3,000 customers or deliver more than 3,000 acre-feet per year. Last year, we delivered 20,675,000 acre-feet, so we're definitely over that threshold. The main hook that the state has to make sure we do these plans is that we have to have them and be current in order to be eligible for future state grants and loans. So that's why we're doing this one. Now we'll do it because it's us. So in terms of water use characterization, the graph shows us the last 5 years, 2020 through 2025, I guess 6 years, how much water do we produce each year? Roughly 20,000 acre-feet per year, more or less. 2021 was a drought year that we did not purchase water, so we used quite a bit less water. 2022 was a worse drought year. We did do a water transfer that year and got us back up there. But basically, 20,000 acre-feet per year. Looking forward, those are 1 year increments, and then going forward, 5 year increments going forward. There's a rather big jump in acre-feet, and that came from, the majority of the jump came from Davis's urban water management plan. Essentially, we combined the 2 cities' urban water management plans together to make the agencies, and then UC Davis is not required to do one because they are not a city, so they don't have to do one. So we took their demands into account as well. Part of it has to do with rather a slow increase over time in Woodland, and a jump in Davis, then slow increase over time going forward. I think some of that has to do with different water quality regulations. October 1 of this year, we cannot use wells that have XML and chromium in them anymore. So over time, the partners are expected to have a more reliance on the agency for the supply of the water going forward. In most years, so this year we had to look at a 5-year consecutive drought. The previous urban water management plans looked at a 3-year consecutive drought. This time we had to look at a 5-year. We look at all different year types under normal years. So roughly half or so of the years, we expect the agency will have more than enough water to supply our partners, and that does take into account our 2 different water rights when Term 91 is in effect. But in roughly half of those years, we may not have enough water to meet all of our partners' demands through year 2050. In which case, as I kind of said, we're a bit the agency is a bit agnostic on water supply. We provide what we have. We tell the partners earlier in the year, this year we did it in April, we think term 91 might start here. This is how much water we expect everyone to get based on our water rights and how that may play a part throughout the year. And the partners then go back. I talk to myself, Stan talks to himself, Courtney talks to herself, and we look to say, well, what do we need to do? The partners can either use the backup water supply as a combination of groundwater or ASR wells, or do they direct the agency to go and look for a water transfer that year? So the last 3 years, we did not do a water transfer in summer. This year, that's the next item on the agenda, to kind of make the partners work throughout the year. So we have a lot of flexibility in how we handle this going forward. The way the agency looks at it is any one partner can ask the agency to do a water transfer. Not all partners have to participate. It could be one or two or all three of us participating in water transfer. The agency we're very, very flexible. We also have the ability to transfer water to each other. Not through pipes directly, but we can transfer capacity at the water plant to each other if we choose to do so. Next slide, please. So this year, the water shortage contingency plan is an appendix within the urban water management plan. The state this year wants us to take that out as a separate document so that it could be updated separately from the overall urban water management plan. So there ultimately will be 3 action items today. Water shortage contingency plan looks at a few things. It looks at droughts. It looks at up to a 5-year consecutive drought. It looks at seismic risk to facilities. It looks at other kind of catastrophic events, either man-made or natural, that may damage our ability to treat and deliver drinking water to our partners. And then what do we do when that happens? Can go into more detail on that if you want to, but the report is online. It is on the agency's website, so anyone can look at that. Next slide. We do have a fairly long, detailed schedule for this effort. We did send out the 60-day notices. I think we've all traded these notices. We sent notices that we're doing this urban water management plan. We sent that out in February. All the water agencies do it, so I think I have like 5 of them. And June 2nd, we had the public notice, a public hearing went out that was published in the newspaper at the Davis Enterprise twice. And then today's a public hearing at the board. And then up for the board to consider plan adoptions. And then by July 1, we have to submit the document to DWR and then make it available in the state library of the Yolo County Library System.
Thank you, Done.
Yep.
Public hearing is now open on the water management plan for this operation. Everybody's heard a detailed staff report. Does any member of the public wish to comment? Nobody in the room, nobody online. Close the public hearing, bring it back to the staff for adoption of the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan.
Yeah, so actually 3 separate adoptions.
Even though it's 2026. Yes, but we can do these as one motion, I presume. We've held the public hearing. We consider adoption. Does any member of the sitting board wish to comment on the water shortage contingency plan or the 2025 urban water management plan? I'm not hearing any comments, and the public's had an opportunity to speak. I would entertain a joint motion to adopt the resolution 2026-01 and 2026-02, approving the 2025 water shortage contingency and the 2025 urban water management plan. The attorney's shaking his head, which is always a good sign. Thank you. Okay, Director Moreno moves the adoption of that motion.
Second.
Director Neff, thank you, seconds the motion. There being no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We've done our legally required duty as required by the state. We have one more substantive item here. Consider adopting, this is item 8, consider adopting resolution 2026-03, approving the purchase agreement for summer 2026 water transfer between Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency and Conaway Ranch for the purchase of supplemental water. And I have a threshold question, which perhaps I'll just address, and that is, we do work with the South Sutter Water Agency. Why are we now looking at Conaway? Do you want multiple sources? Is it a better price? What motivates that change?
That's a very good question. So part of it is that this is a relatively small water transfer. It's only 1,000 acre feet. It's
1,000 acre feet?
1,000 acre feet. So it's a relatively small amount of water. because we don't have our supplemental EIR in place yet with Southside Water District, it would require a rather extensive and expensive permitting process. We typically spend around $100,000 a year going through the whole permitting process with Southside Water District for our annual water transfers.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
So because this is a small water transfer, the nice thing about Conaway Ranch is that we share the intake. So environmental-wise, we do not need to do CEQA. We do have to do a small federal environmental permitting exercise. That's underway. But because we share an intake, we don't really have to report it to anybody. The State Water Board doesn't get involved. With Bureau of Reclamation, all we have to do is add a column on a reporting spreadsheet and show whose water we're taking that day. So it's a much simpler process for a small water transfer.
Makes perfect sense, and you also indicated a price of $250 an acre foot.
Yes,
Is that
Conaway-
in the ballpark with all of
It's
one?
below market pricing, I would say.
good for you.
It's a very good deal. So Conaway, because we're neighbors, we share the intake. They want to work with us when it works out for everyone. There's not a whole lot of water transfers going on this year, but from what I've heard, it's been in the neighborhood of $300 to $400 an acre foot. So at $250, we're doing really well.
Thank
We
you.
do have to pay for expenses. There's usual reclamation has various fees that we'll have to pay. We'll pay those directly, but we're already used to that. We do that every year with our rescheduling of water that we already do, so it's not really a new thing for us.
Thank you.
One thing with this transfer, City of Woodland is not participating, UC Davis is not participating, that I've heard so far. So it's primarily water going to the City of Davis.
Well, we want them to have all the water they need, don't we?
UC Davis is
All right.
participating, so we've worked with Stan on that, so.
It sounds like a highly favorable opportunity, and we commend you for coming up with it. So, colleagues, do we have questions? Any member of the public have questions? If that's the case, then how about a motion to,
I would move approval.
Director Neville moves the purchase of this additional water from the Conaway Ranch?
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, Director Moreno seconds. Further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. So that completes that less substantive item. Now, we have one more, selection of chair and vice chair for fiscal year 26-27. I've had a request that we consider putting that over as perhaps the first item on our next agenda, so that our prospective chair, if he chooses to accept it, can be present to be nominated. Is that
Sure.
acceptable?
Yeah,
my
we can
colleagues?
do that.
All right, so we'll continue item 9 until our next regular meeting. Long-range board calendar, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager.
It's been a long day. It's been a long week. So our next regular scheduled meeting is September 17th. Right now, we don't have a whole lot on there, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to add the long-term agreement with Southside Water District onto that meeting, because we will want to get the option agreement in place, because winter is coming up soon at that meeting. So we should have the SEIR draft completed in the next few days. Should have that wrapped up by September, which will allow us to finalize the long-term agreement with them. So what we're looking at now is just our usual updates, treasurer's quarterly report, and then hopefully a long-term water supply agreement.
Very good, thank you.
Much shorter meeting than this one.
All right. Yeah, we've done a lot of business. Any board member comments? Director Neville? Director Moreno? Thank you. None from the chair. So that means we can adjourn to our regular board meeting currently scheduled for Thursday, September 17th, 2026 at 3 p.m. at the Davis City Hall Council Chambers. With that, and with thanks and appreciation to our hardworking, efficient staff, to Jacobs for operating our water system, and all the people that help us, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
So it took 5